And part of why I enjoy the Disney gig too is just I love seeing kids just their eyes open wide when they see just the process being done. Not even really blown glass or just seeing like the flame. Like when the kids would walk up to to see what I'm doing, I would turn my propane up really big so they got this. They called it we call it like the dragon flame or whatever. They're all like, "Oh my god, it's fire! It's so cool!" Just to tease them a little bit,
Exactly.
It's awesome.
And I do the same kinds of things, man. Like as the kids are walking in, I'm on a Mirage flip pedal now. So I'll be working a little bit on my minor and just doing some work, but I'll make sure that as they walk in, I'll hit that flip pedal with that big roar, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just to see the kids' eyes light up and just for them to start to be mesmerized by glass the way I was, that's something that I enjoy helping them capture. It's been great.
This is the Wise Guy Radio Show, a podcast dedicated to educating and inspiring through conversations with today's top talents in the world of glass. We will be dissecting their journeys in hopes to deliver actionable content that you, the artist, can start implementing now, helping you grow not only as a creative spirit, but also a successful artistic entrepreneur. With a little organization, relationship building, and your artistic ability, you can obtain greatness. Climb aboard, whether an artist, retail owner, or enthusiast. We have a ton of fun in store for you. Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show. This episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show is sponsored by Wise Guy Media, a new company dedicated to showcasing the talents and offerings of their customers through podcasting, eye-catching graphics, logo, and customized web design. Established in 2015, Wise Guy Media is continuing to push the elements of web and logo design with outside-of-the-box ideas and up-to-date graphic generating programs. Whether you want to launch your own podcast, need a website, or a new logo for your brand, they have all your needs covered to promote yourself and get your brand recognized in your industry. To see what they've been up to, check out their site, www.sonyermedia.com/wiseguy, for a sample of what they've been doing to help get this podcast off the ground. That's www.sonyermedia, SANYERMEDIA.com/wiseguy. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show, Episode 1. This is Jay Michael, your host, and I cannot even begin to tell you how fired up and excited I am to be here today. And I got to start off by saying thank you for listening to this show and for being patient with me as I learn the rings of what it is to host and post a podcast. I was hoping last Wednesday that the pilot episode would have been up on iTunes and Stitcher and our website and SoundCloud and all the other outlets out there for podcasting. And due to my negligence and ignorance in the terms of technology, it did not happen. And thank you so much to a good buddy of mine, Mike Sharkey, also known as Shark, has a coaching company called Shark Zen Media. And he's actually my coach for podcasting, and he helped me on Friday get everything taken care of and squared away. And then Friday, late afternoon, early evening, I was actually able to get everything up and going and got my emails saying, you're now waiting for approval. So once I get my emails back, I will let you guys know that the shows are up and on iTunes and Stitcher. And until then, you can just go to our website at wiseguyradio.com and listen to the show directly off of there, or you can download it. And you can also, it's called the RSS feed, I believe it is, the link. And you can just copy and paste that and put that up into a couple different podcasts that are out there. That'll let you listen to the show. But I just recommend for now just listening to it directly from the site. And then hopefully by the time this show is aired, I will have the approval, and this and the pilot will be up on iTunes and Stitcher. So again, thank you all for your patience. You have been awesome. I greatly appreciate it. And let's get on with the show. What's happening, everybody? Jay Michael here with the Wise Guy Radio Show, Episode 1. I am really, really excited to have Rashan Jones on today, who is our first guest. Rashan, he's a brother from another mother. I've been following him for a long time now through social media and Facebook, and have really enjoyed watching him grow, not only as an artist, but as a man. And it's been fun. We kind of both together have gone through some trials and tribulations, not together in terms of side by side, but individually in our own paths. And through watching and contacting and talking through Facebook, we both actually kind of crossed paths last year by getting married. And it's kind of been a new turn in both of our lives. So I figured, because of his background and his personality, which is he's got a great big personality, and he's very talented as well, I thought we'd bring him on for the first guest. And he was the first person to get back to me, so that's a big win for you, my brother.
Winning.
Hell yeah. So,
awesome, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, hell yeah.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah, this is awesome, man.
Great.
So, a quick little background on Rashan. Rashan Jones is a borosilicate lamp worker living in Albuquerque, New Mexico. For the last decade, his company, Jones Art Glass, has been creating handcrafted, mouth-blown pieces of glass. A lifelong passion was found in the spring of 2001. After an apprenticeship opportunity left him hopelessly addicted to molten glass. Inspired by beautiful natural surroundings in Albuquerque, New Mexico, his work truly captures the fire and spirit of the southwestern high desert. Organic colors and shapes are hallmarks of his natural style. In 2013, he opened his first solo studio, High Desert Flameworks, where he continues his molten glass. And hey, dude, I got to just ask you, being in Albuquerque, have you seen Bugs Bunny?
No, man, that guy's always trying to take a left turn out of here, I think.
Well,
That's how that works, you know what
I mean? Yeah, he needs a GPS or something.
Seriously.
So,
update his operating systems, man.
Yeah, something. It's awesome. So, yeah, brother, so give me a little background. When did you get started? Who'd you work with? Any names in the industry we may know of?
Yeah, man. Tell you what. It all started here in Albuquerque. Let me go back a little further. Back when I was a kid, my uncle used to coach football down in El Paso, Texas. So we'd always go down to visit him, and that took us down to Juarez, Mexico, quite often. And there was a really, really cool glass shop, man, where I would just stand for hours and watch him spin out these huge soft glass, like cobalt plates and margarita glass and stuff like that. So that was my first exposure to glass, and then bumped into it again probably in like 99, 2000. I had a buddy named Brian Bentley who was a local pipe maker, and I'd always hung out in the studio, and so it was something that just it was just natural. I was just always there hanging out with him, and so one day I had a 2-week vacation from my travel agent job, kind of coincide, and so I bought my first torch and took off from there.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. And what was that first torch you bought?
Oh man, Nortel Miner.
Yeah, me
Nortel
too.
Miner. That's, 15 years later, it makes me laugh because I still hear, like, to this day, like this week I've heard, I don't know if you can move borosilicate on a miner. And it's just not true, man. Miners are great torches.
Oh, dude, everything I made for the first year and a half of my glass art was all on a Nortel miner.
Exactly. Then, working with him was really great. It gave me a great opportunity. And, in 2000, about May, June 2000, I got my first miner. And my plan, seriously, was to be the world's greatest pipe maker, bong maker ever, man. Like, that was it. I was going to take over the world. I had a whole plan, man.
2 weeks into it, right?
Exactly. No, 2 weeks. No, 2 days, bro.
Oh,
hey, you know what? This
even
is what
better.
I'm doing. But, it was a blessing because here in Albuquerque, we have a long tradition of borosilicate glass, mostly spearheaded by Lewis Wilson. He used to sell my buddy Brian color, so I wasn't aware of who Lewis was. He was just like, the wacky, cool neighbor guy that would sell his color. And so I was going through the library one day and just looking for anything I could on glass blowing at that point, and I ran across a video of his, and I was like, man, I think this is that weird old dude that we buy our color from, huh? So I did my knowledge there and did my research, and thankfully, Lewis, he liked my spirit. He kind of took me under his wing, and what that enabled me to do was to, I'd spend a lot of time in a pipe prep studio doing a lot of pipe work and stuff. But also, Lewis kind of brought me into the bead game and got me traveling and heading down to Tucson just to kind of open up my eyes to things that were possible with glass. And that right there, those two experiences simultaneously is what really kind of solidified my need to work glass constantly.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, Lewis Wilson did the basic introduction to glasswork videos?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, Essential Lampworking or something they were called?
It's Crystal Myth Essential Glasswork.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, Crystal Myths. Yeah, awesome.
Yeah,
man.
But, from there, I started doing bead shows and stuff, and what that let me do, and this is, part of why social media just blows me away these days, is a lot of the relationships I literally formed because I would have to sacrifice time away from family and go to these places. And now, you don't really have to do that anymore, as it were. Technically, man, we haven't met in person, but I feel we have a good vibe so that when I meet you in person, it's going to be exactly the same. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel you, dude, for sure.
But a lot of that rapport comes from, just traveling a lot and just getting out there. And, I was able to come in the 2000s and meet a lot of people who are really just doing amazing work now. And it was just a really, really great time in glass.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's amazing, man, just to see the evolution of, then to now, like you're saying, with social media. It's pretty cool. But it's also very distracting.
Very. Very.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh yeah.
So I was reading. So you started doing a demo one day for some kids, and that turned
Oh
into
yeah,
a
man.
kids glass program, which I think is awesome.
Yeah, man. That's probably the thing I'm most talk about for the last couple of years because it's a program that's near and dear to my heart. It's called the Wonders of Glass, and it basically started with I was having some pizza with a friend of mine. She was a third grade teacher, and she introduced me to the art teacher Annie Nash, who had already been doing some fusing and stuff with the kids, like just on the side, like on like weekend projects and like summer camp kind of things. She'd have some of the elementary school kids cutting glass and doing some fusing. So she asked me to come in and do a demo flame working with her kids. Well, first asked if it was even possible, and I was like, sure, if your school's fine with it, I'll bring it all down. So I did, and that was great. And I did my first demo, and then about 3 weeks later, Annie called me and was like, hey, I'm going to write this grant to the Toyota Corporation to help teach kids more about glass. Would you want to be our artist in residence? And at that time, 6 years ago, I didn't even understand what that entailed. But I'm really really fond of doing cool stuff, man. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's teach kids to blow glass, and this filled up some time in my day, and this will be good for my spirit. And we got the grant, man. Toyota gave us 20 grand about 6 years ago to start the Wonders of Glass program, and since
Wow.
then, we've teamed with a lot of outside the glass industry partners, but also titans like Glass Alchemy, North Star, ABR, Paragon, and Nortel have all made sure. Oh man, of course, Oralens, they're our new partner. Just made sure that we could not just teach the kids, but teach them correctly in an awesome manner, man. So it's been really good. It's been a great ride.
Man, that's so cool, dude. I know, like, my wife's an art teacher, elementary, so she's got the K through 5. And
Okay.
so the past 3 years, I guess I've been doing the
Mm-hmm.
Great American Teaching, and the first time I did it was, doing a full-on demo for
Mm-hmm.
every grade, and it was every grade, one demo at a time, K through 5. But
Yeah.
it's so awesome, and part of why I enjoy the Disney gig too is just I love seeing kids just their eyes open wide when they see just the process being done. Not even really blown glass or just seeing like the flame. Like when the kids would walk up to to see what I'm doing, I would turn my propane up really big so they got this. They called it we call it like the dragon flame or whatever. They're all like, oh my god, it's fire, it's so cool. Just to tease them a little bit,
Exactly.
It's awesome.
And I do the same kinds of things, man. Like as the kids are walking in, I'm on a Mirage flip pedal now. So I'll be working a little bit on my minor and just doing some work, but I'll make sure that as they walk in, I'll hit that flip pedal with that big roar. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just to see the kids' eyes light up and just for them to start to be mesmerized by glass the way I was, that's something that like I enjoy helping them capture. It's been great.
Yeah, I think it's like with fire, I think it's like genetically ingrained in us just as humans, from back in the days of being Neanderthals. So this whole we've always had this wonder and fascination with it, and you want to stick your hand in it and see if it's going to burn you, kind of thing. And as we all know, it does.
It does. It does.
That's awesome. So what kind of stuff do you guys do with the kids?
All right. So it's broken down to two things. So in the very beginning, Glass Alchemy was super awesome. They made sure that all the kids got one of the original Goblin posters. Man, if those kids still have those are collector's items.
Man, that's awesome.
Anyways.
Yeah.
But so basically, let's say it's a class of 20 kids, so they'll break up into 5 groups of 4 kids. And the day before, Dr. Nash will come by my studio and she'll drop off the dossier, man. And what that is the kids know I'm coming. Myself and Andrew Brown from Carver Beach Studios put together a bead making video for them about 7 years ago. And so they've already seen the video series. They understand how the glass is going to move. And now, like this individual school, glass is part of their culture. So the kids have a great understanding of it. And so what they'll do is they'll draw something, man, just whatever's on their mind, whatever they as a group agree to draw. But when I get there, it's not just like a SpongeBob SquarePants. It's like SpongeBob SquarePants, but labeled appropriately with, this is Rasta Gold, Rashan, and use Snow White for the eyes, Rashan.
Oh,
and
dude, that's
you
so
have
awesome.
chocolate crayon for the pants, Rashan. And, for me and my team, like I've been down there with, man, amazing, just a stunning group of artisans. Andrew Brown, Jennifer Wilson, Denial Gearhart, just really, really great local guys who have stepped up and said, hey, you know what, I want to help you. So we'll all go down there. Niles Malman is my new partner. And we go down there, we'll bring 2 torches, and we get together and decide, like, okay, we have an hour with this class. What can we realistically get done? And for me, in the first couple of years, man, of the 6 years, it it was such a challenge because I don't do any sculpting. I don't know if you know that. I don't do any sculpting at all unless I'm in that program. And so as a glass blower coming in, the kids are like, well, I want a cupcake. Okay, well, I can kind of fashion that. I'll take some 32 and blow it out and, add a topper and things like that. But, that was 6 years ago. Now I'm a lot more comfortable, and the kids are a lot more demanding, man. It used to be, hey, let's make something cool, and the glass blower will make it. And now it's let's stump the glass blower. So it went from like a simple Harry Potter wand or like a Juicy Juice suck box or, like I said, a cupcake in the early years to where we were down there probably about 8 weeks ago, and we did a monkey holding a banana and a lightsaber riding on a rocket ship.
Oh my gosh!
And we only have an hour, so we're not talking like super like critical detail, but like all the design elements are there. And it's funny we talked about social media a little bit earlier and like how it can influence the glass game.
Yep.
Like for me, the person making really really awesome sabers is there's a lot of really awesome people making really cool lightsabers. So what I'm able to do is go out to that person on Facebook after the fact and tag them and say, hey, man, we made this inspired by something I saw you do, and these kids loved it. So thank you so much.
Yeah, that's awesome. Was it Sarah Shade, I think? Wasn't she doing the...
Sarah Shade, exactly.
Doing it for a while? Because I know there's another guy out there that he goes by Saber Glass, I believe. He's on Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
And he's doing on, like, full-on... like replica-sized lightsabers that are functional pipes.
Oh, wow.
And they've got built-in lights in them, dude. So, like, you hit a little button and the whole thing freaking lights up. I mean, it's yeah, they're badass, bro. Check them out.
No, mine aren't that big.
But yeah, I think his name. I think it goes by at Sable Glass. I think I'm not really sure.
Oh man, but I hope the kids don't hear about that, man, because they're definitely gonna try and make me do that.
Yeah, man. I'll have the link. I'll have his link in the show notes page, so so you can check that out.
Awesome.
Anybody else listening can check it out too. Yeah, man, that's super cool. I love the whole imagination of kids and putting things together because like. For myself and other artists that I've been around, it's always getting inspired isn't always easy. And when you have kids that are like, put this, and this together, let's see if you can do it, man. It reminds me of like an art class I took where we had to go into a science lab and draw. We had to pick 4 objects, draw them on paper, and then make a collage. So like I found a heart and a cockroach, and there was something else I did. I think it was like a dolphin picture or something. And so I basically like drew this picture of like this cockroach riding this dolphin with a cowboy hat on, shooting a gun, kind of thing. It was like,
yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
It's cool. But the imagination of the child, like my son, he's gonna be 8 this year, and he's always like, I'm not sure what to draw, Dad. I'm like, just think of something crazy, and you can do it.
The craziest thing you can put together, man. And go with that. And then especially the young person, man.
Yeah, I love it because I know like my imagination, dude, like. You don't even want to know what I think about sometimes.
Exactly. Awesome.
Goodness gracious.
Oh man.
So yeah, dude. So what do you see with the future of this class? Like, I see like you're trying to kind of instill this into other programs, other schools, like nationally wise. I think it.
Oh yeah, no, we've actually been able to do it, man. It's not to be a cliche, man, but it really is. It's a lightning in the bottle kind of situation where right now the industry. The glass industry is really, really celebrating it and wants kids involved in it. The larger suppliers realize that they should have a younger market base that can kind of grow into their products. So like now it went from just doing those demos to now we're doing hands-on stuff in the class. So the kids will come in like in the evenings or on a weekend, and it's a mommy and me or daddy and me kind of situation. Like you cannot just drop your 7-year-old off with me. You have to stay. So. Yeah. And they'll stay for like a 4 or 5 hour basic intro class, and we'll do a lunch, and it's basically we'll do a basic bead, a basic pendant, and an icicle. And what that lets the kids do is then the next time I'm in class at the school demoing for their class, the kids who have taken the class outside of school, those are the ones that we'll have come down and like, hey, do you want to help me pull these stringers, or and what 4th grader doesn't want to pull cobalt blue stringers in front of his classmates?
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's awesome.
It works out well, man. So it's grown from being a demo program to a true hands-on thing. And then back in July, I was at in Houston at the International Society of Glass Bead Makers, and I had a chance to kind of present it to a larger body of just bead makers from around the world. And what that's opened me up to is that there's a lot of people in that same vein all across the country. Drew Cups up in Michigan with the Michigan Project. They have a really, really heavy lean towards helping kids work in glass. There's lots of soft glass and offhand studios who are really heavy into it. As far as like the Toledo Museum of Glass, the program I'm doing is based on theirs actually, because any kid can just draw something and submit it as a class. And then if they decide to make it, they'll contact the teacher and say, hey, we're about to make this kid's thing. Do you want to live stream or do you want a copy of this video so you can check it out? So we kind of built it based on that. And it's awesome, man. It's great.
That is too cool. Yeah, man, because, you know, I think that if it does take off like wildfire and does spread through like the school systems, you know, like it may actually help really gel the whole, like we were saying before about like, you know, getting lingo down and having it be consistent across the community, because it has to be taught at a younger age. And, you know, when you teach a curriculum, even though, like, you know, you look at the way our country is in language, you know, it's like soda and pop or, you know, whatever. Everybody's got different words for different things. But it seems like the glass language needs to become an actual language that we all use the same terminology, whether we're talking to some, you know, Lucio Babaco or, you know, Dale Chihuly or Marcel Braun. You know, it's like we all can get together and have, or Rashan Jones, and, you know, you know. but you know what I'm saying, dude. So it's like, man,
absolutely.
You know, there's got to be some kind of like consistency across the boards, because, you know, it's just, you know.
And you know, as far as it spreading further, man, like mostly, like I don't really have any illusions about the fact that it's small children and like really, really hot heat. So it's definitely not for everyone. And so, like, you know, I've had that question before, like, you know, how do I feel that it hasn't grown bigger in 6 years? I'm like, look, you know, 6 years, we've got 4 schools. I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, if this somehow becomes a larger like school board issue, and like we're building, like we have the curriculum built, so if we start implementing that on a larger scale, then of course that'd be awesome. But I also recognize that, like, it's, you know, it's like anything else. I mean, you know, flame working isn't for everyone. Same way drawing isn't for everyone, or the saxophone isn't for everyone, or asparagus isn't for everyone. So just all I'm trying to do is just let people know, like, hey, if you want to, you could be doing this. You don't have to. I'm not saying you have to, but if you want to, it can be done, and we have the blueprint for it. So
interesting. So, like, to get technical with it, do you guys have insurance, like, and that kind of stuff for like liability issues?
I do. I carry a $2 million policy through my business that travels with me when I'm demoing out, and the school compounds that when I'm at the school, they have their own. It's a long series of waivers. I will tell you, just full disclosure, that the school I started with is a private school. I've had a hard time getting into our local public schools, quite frankly, because of the insurance issues. Because my $2 million is not going to rebuild a middle school if something bad happens.
Right.
You know what
exactly.
I mean?
Yeah.
So, that's the reality of the situation. And the way it grew into a hands-on program was by me opening up my studio. We were only demo-based until 2013 when I opened High Desert Flameworks. We'd done some hands-on classes at a studio I used to work at, Gray Matter here in Albuquerque. We'd done some hands-on classes there, but we didn't really go like full-bore and implement actual like multiple meetings with multiple kids in a curriculum until 2 years ago. And a lot of that had to do, quite frankly, with the business side of it, because it wasn't that I was ever stopped and someone said, hey, you need to do this, but just realistically, man, I got to be responsible about this.
Yeah, man, and that's why I asked, because, like, you know, a lot of people have issues getting studios set up because even though the glass has been around for so long, it seems like the infrastructures of cities and municipalities don't understand. You know, like you go to your city for permits for a glass studio, and they're like, "Oh, glass blowing," and they think you're going to have furnaces and all this madness going on. When really, you got a table and a torch and a fan. And I remember several years ago, I was helping a company get a glass studio set up, and they didn't. The city didn't require us to have hoods for the bench that we had the torches on, but they required us to have a hood for the kiln, which seemed completely ass backwards, you know. But I understood.
So I'll tell you where that came from. I can actually tell you where that directly came from, man, because I've had that same issue. There's a guide. It's called the NFPA 58. It's the National Fire Prevention Act, Guidebook 58. It's like $80 a year. They update it every year, but that is the National Propane Handling Code, and we as flame workers somehow fall under that, because if our individual municipalities don't have their own set guidelines, they fall back to that. And we don't have to vent our torches, but we have to have a vent over my kiln. Are you kidding me? You know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah, it's weird, right? Because they were treating us like a restaurant. So like I told the guys I was opening the studio for, I'm like, why don't we just go find an old pizza shop or some like a laundromat or something that already has ventilation or a kitchen in it, because they're going to treat us. I mean, you get into fire suppression systems and it's like $5,000-$6,000 minimum to get one and just to get it installed.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
crazy. So it's like, the whole underground being a Gorilla glass blower in your bedroom or in your garage, it's almost a necessity, because we're like, we got the thumb being pushed down on us all the time because the permitting people don't understand what it is that we're trying to do. And don't get me wrong, it's like, I understand, but if you do it properly and you can show them that, hey, my propane's outside, all my gas lines are run through copper lines, everything's sealed, blah, 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 I'm not going to burn this building down, or I'm not going to burn the city down, even so.
Exactly.
You can prove to them, but they still don't want to hear it, so it's kind of an interesting thing, and that's why I wanted to ask, because I was really curious, because I know, like, when I do demos, I have a liability insurance myself, just because, like, if a piece of glass shoots out in front of me and burns a kid, like, I got to make sure,
exactly.
somebody's safe. Now, if I burn a building down, it's a whole different story. But my demos, I was doing them out in the basketball courts under, like, a cover, the shade-wise. So it made it a little bit easier for myself to be safe and have everything roped off and blah, blah, blah. But you just, shit happens. You just never know.
And that's, the shit happens is really, that's what you're always trying to prevent, as a professional. And particularly compounding it with working with kids, man, like safety is tantamount. And I try not to ever be flippant about it, but it is the most important thing, because ultimately we've had an amazing safety record. Has a child ever touched a piece of glass in one of my classes? Absolutely. But I'll tell you what, when those two kids did it, I was in the restroom and both their parents were right next to them. So, you know what I mean?
Yep.
It's one of those things that, like, no matter how you try to supervise or guide it, things are going to happen, but it's all about kind of, just trying to limit the things that can go wrong.
Yeah, man. I know. It's funny. Yeah. Oh, go on, dude.
Go ahead.
Oh, let's see. Just go on. I don't mean to interrupt you there.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's just, another part of it, though, man, is that, it's also where I live, man. Flame working can be a regional thing, and that the things that I could not do what I'm doing in, like, New York City or Orlando or Miami, for that matter.
Right. Only
because, frankly, commercial real estate is very expensive. But living in Albuquerque, New Mexico, man, we're still the Wild West, and that I have a 600 square foot studio. I have a full fire suppression system. And I assure you, but the rate that I pay is surprisingly low if it were like on national averages. And if anyone wants to message me about this, privately, I don't want to talk numbers on podcasts, but if you don't want to message, we can definitely go back and forth about that. But it's a really affordable rate. The most expensive things I had to do was isolate my sprinkler system, because I'm next to like 7 other businesses. I'm right in the middle of like a joined building. So if my sprinklers go off, they want my sprinklers going off. But the way it was set before, if one goes off, they all go off.
Oh yeah.
So I had to spend some decent bucks to isolate mine out. But yeah, man, it's been really, really safe. I have an upstairs neighbor. Like, I'm a live work community, so there's 2 stories of residential above my studio.
Wow.
So I'm really, really good. Yeah, like, so literally where my torch is, 16 feet up from that is a guy's couch in the living room. And, his name is Zeke. We talk all the time. He's a great guy. He hangs out. But, yeah, like, that's, like, safety is something that it's so ingrained in me. It's not that I don't like to talk about it, but that everything I do has to be safe, man, because, like, if I don't, like, it's not just glass is going to crack, but, like, yeah, just bad things happen, man. So
yeah, absolutely. Because I had friends of mine locally, bro, that had a very similar setup, except it was in an own building. The studio was downstairs, upstairs was living quarters, and at first there was nobody living upstairs. So when they got everything passed, all their inspections, permitting, whatever got passed. But as soon as a resident moved upstairs, the fire department came in there and shut them down, like immediately.
Ah, man.
Within like a day of the lease being signed, kind of thing. So. Yeah, and we were kind of wondering, too, if maybe it was like the landlord has something to do with it. We're not really sure. But, it's definitely that liability's there. So, so kind of on the business side of things,
yeah,
because part of this podcast I really want to talk about, I consider those of us that are artists but also are doing this in a serious fashion as being a business owner, or what I consider us to be like an artistic entrepreneur. On the business side of things, like, do you have an accountant that you deal with in terms of managing your finances?
Nope.
Do you do quarterly taxes, like, or do you manage all your stuff yourself? Like, how do you go about, that side of things?
Okay, check it out. Man, and my brain is geared towards numbers, so I enjoy it, man. I've been doing my own taxes since I was like 16. You know what I mean? Like when I got
Yeah,
my
me
first
too.
job. So like I got QuickBooks, and hopefully maybe one day I'll be able to amass an empire that like I'll need an accountant. But for now, man, I really don't. Like I use QuickBooks, and that pretty much keeps me online and on track as far as what I need to be doing. I pay quarterly into my state, but a lot of that, man, because I'm primarily a wholesaler, I don't even pay that much in gross receipts. Like what I send out isn't taxed by my state, so it works out well.
Nice.
But philosophically, man, I pay taxes because I like fire departments and parks and hospitals. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I'm the same way,
so
bro.
I try,
Absolutely.
and ultimately I try and do my part, like just mostly to be a good steward in my community because I want to be seen as like, hey man, this is a responsible glass blower. this
Yeah.
guy's running a responsible business. He pays his taxes on time. It's important to me. It's because by treating it like any other business, I'm able to just like in a couple. My son's a freshman in high school, man. In a couple of years, I'm gonna be trying to put my son through college on my glass income. So to think that it's not a business is incorrect, man. Like it's not gonna work for me. So
Yeah, absolutely.
I realized that from very very early on. And so, because a lot of my focus in glass blowing has always been like my son. It's always because, for a long time I was a single dad. And so everything, I blew glass because it kept me, it kept ends meeting, food on the table. And also I didn't miss a field trip for like 4 years, man. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that's super cool.
it's a good lifestyle. And so because of that, I realized that as fanciful, as whimsical as it seems, I have to treat it as a business because it has to be sustainable.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and it's smart, man. That's why that's one of the main reasons. Also, besides your personality, I want to get you on here because I see what you do is very professional, and it always. I mean, I can't say it blows my mind because I'm not really shocked by it anymore. But like when I go drop off an order or send someone a customer an order, I've got 2 distributors I sell to as well, and
Mm-hmm.
they thank me for making sure that I've got them an invoice or I have a packing slip. Everything's organized. I have an inventory sheet. And my logo is on those papers. Like they're like, "Oh my God, your logo's on here." I'm like, "Yeah, it should be." And
Yeah.
so part of this podcast, like, you can create the most amazing art in the world, but if you can't sell it, if you can't market yourself, if you can't be professional about being an artist and a business person, you're not going to be successful. And of course, success is different to everybody. I'm not thinking financial success. I'm thinking what you're thinking,
Exactly.
dude. Like where I can get up out of bed when I want to get out of bed, which is pretty early in the morning, and I do my
Yeah.
day. I
Yeah.
fart around. I play with my dogs, my kids. I get my kids to school. I can pick my kids up from school if I want to.
Exactly, man.
You know. But
For me, just go ahead. Sorry.
oh no, so I was say, but the biggest thing with myself personally, working at home, is the whole discipline. It's so easy to walk inside the house and get distracted by dishes or, my TV or something.
Yeah, I salute you because I can't do it, man. I've had a studio in my home, and all I did, I got really, really good at Tiger Woods golf on the PlayStation.
Dude, I could tear up some Tiger Woods, brother.
Super good. Like seriously. So like I admire you, man, because before I opened up High Desert Flameworks, I was thinking about building a home studio just out of our garage, man, because we had some space, and it was just ultimately I realized that like I just wasn't. I think that you're a very unique person and that you're very professional minded and you can still work out of your house. I think that's amazing.
Thanks, bro.
Salute you, sir.
Thank you.
Salute you, sir. That's awesome. But the business side of it, man, is it's hard to mix in because as you alluded to before, success means something different to everyone. And for a long time, whether it be watching a lot of my friends excel in the pipe game or the bead game or the work I've done myself, I wasn't sure what I wanted to be, as it were. Like all I knew for sure is that I wanted to work with glass every single day, touching it, making it, selling it, breaking it, everything. And that was success for me for a lot of years. And then, as life changes and things kind of came on and, met my wife and just, different things happen, man, that everyone kind of goes through. What I found that for me, success isn't financial success at all. It's really just balance. It's that balance of like being able to both, have the option of picking up your kid if you want to,
Yeah.
or, put them on the bus because you're having a long torch session. These are the kinds of things, like those are the kinds of decisions that I want to be making because, I enjoy the fact that now, particularly because he's older, if I've told my son like, hey man, I'm going to meet you at 2:30, let's do our thing. One, he knows how the glass life works, as it were. So he'll message me like on the way out of school, like, hey man, are we still meeting up? And usually I'll say I'm on my way, but sometimes I might say, nah man, why don't you take the bus to your grandmother's? I have to finish this wine glass set, or this bubbler is not going to make itself, buddy. That kind of thing.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's good, man. Because like with my daughter, she'll be 16 this year and going to be a junior next year in high school. So it's like, which is crazy. But I started right before she was born, so she's been through this whole thing with me, and it's the same. I totally get that, dude. Because like tonight, for instance, she was asking me about her and I going to this play that her boyfriend's in. She's in a local high school magnet program for theater, and she's in the drama program. And her boyfriend is in the drama program also, but he's outside doing little theater type stuff. And I told her, I was like, I would love to go tonight, but I've got a podcast coming out Tuesday, Wednesday. I got orders coming in, and she totally understands it. She didn't throw a fit.
exactly.
She says, "Okay, Dad, I love you. Have fun."
Man, probably my best kid, like, relating to glass life story. My son was in 4th grade. It was a Rio Grande Nature Center. And, I met up with the class, and, we got our sack lunches, we're hanging out, and, this other kid was walking through, and he and my son were probably about maybe 8 or 9 feet ahead of me, and he didn't realize I could hear him. And this kid was like, hey, man, like, why does your dad always come on all these trips, man? Like, well, what does he do all day? And my son stopped and looked at this kid and was like, it's cool. My dad doesn't even have a real job. Now, dude, part of me might be taken aback because, of course, I work hard. But the fact is, if I'm able to work as hard as I do at the level that I'm at, and my son doesn't even realize I have a quote-unquote real job, that's balance.
Coming up on the next episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show. When I first started listening to these shows, I would hear this terminology. I'm like, I wouldn't know what the hell they were talking about. But
CPA is a certified public accountant, and an IRA is an individual retirement account.
There you go. Hell yeah.
PSA. but no, man, that's the kind of thing as the glass industry. Look, I spend a lot of time online going through like different, what color is that, and what torch should I get, and this, that, and the third. But yeah, man, no one's really talking about like after.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, let's say you find the perfect torch and you develop the business and you get it going. No one ever talks about that after. It's like the taboo subject. Like the business skills and pricing are like the two taboos in this industry. And for whatever reason, like I feel like by shining more light on those issues, I mean, everyone's gonna be more organized. We'll be happier. Everyone will be closer to that balance, man, and success. So
yeah, dude, and that honestly, besides teaching safety and health, that is why I'm doing this. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show. If you have any questions, comments, or remarks, please leave them in the show notes page area where it says comments. We'll see you soon. Have a wise night.